My name is Eran Efrati, and I'm an ex-combat soldier in the Israeli military and the director of Raya Researching the American-Israeli Alliance. After growing up in a very Zionist militaristic home, I joined the military and very fast understood that I'm not defending my country. I'm really enforcing an apartheid regime on the Palestinian people wherever I served. All across the West Bank, I left the military and started researching the Israeli military and the Israeli army industry. And for the last decade, this is my job. I research the money that Israel is making out of the occupation of Palestinians, selling battle-proven weapons and technology that they're testing on them across the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem to the rest of the world, and trying to help local activists and campaigns all around the world to cut their ties with Israel and to end the apartheid of Palestine.
Tell me why every time Netanyahu goes to the American Congress and he says this is not going to happen again, talking about the Holocaust.
Sure. Israeli government is really doing is weaponizing the idea of anti-Semitism. They're taking what's supposed to be defending on Jews and reframing it back again and defending on a political idea that a lot of Jews don't agree with. Like myself, I'm an anti-Zionist activist. What they're really doing is taking anti-Semitism and use it to defend horrible crimes against humanity that are being reenacted on Palestinians and around the world, like in South Sudan or in Eritrea, where Israel is selling weapons currently, right now. You know, there's one of the biggest successes of Israel, perhaps, is the conflict between Judaism and Zionism. They are not the same. You know, Zionism is a political idea, political identity that a lot of Jews are not subscribed to.
It's not the difference of religions which is causing this conflict. The state of Israel does not represent all Jews, and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. According to Jewish religion, all of this is criminal. All of this is forbidden. Basics of Jewish belief teaches that Jews are in a divinely decreed exile. We are even forbidden to create a sovereignty for ourselves. But especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. This is not only criminal according to international law. This is a true violation of Judaism.
After the Holocaust, many Jews did not came to Israel. And the one who does, there's still Jews inside of Israel that see themselves as anti-Zionism. It's not anti-Semitic to criticize Israel. In fact, it might be more anti-Semitic to believe that Zionism is Judaism, and to support Jews, you have to support the oppression and the killing of thousands of Palestinians. That's the real anti-Semitic idea. If you believe that supporting Jews or helping Jews is oppressing other human beings, that is an anti-Semitic idea, and that will never, ever protect Jews anywhere in the world. That is quite dangerous for us. And in that regard, it's also important to say that the Netanyahu government is having close ties with white supremacists, neo-fascists and neo-Nazis in Europe and the US right now. So they are in fact actually promoting real anti-Semitism in the defense of Zionism in Israel right now.
Eran, did you know that Spain is the 6th largest producer of weapons in the world? Despite the fact they are socialists or conservatives, they keep on selling weapons. What would you say to the Spaniards?
Well, I think that it's very clear that the history will remember and judge this moment in time. You know, Israel and Spain are both number 6 and 7 in the world in arms trade. In that regard, Spain is a part of the occupation of Palestine, but very much also a part of exporting and importing the technology and weapons that are being used on Palestinians back to the Spanish streets against Spanish civilians. Except for just arms that Spain is selling Israel, Spain is buying a lot of weapons from Israel, meaning that they're supporting the economy of the occupation, the economy of war, the economy that makes Israel continue the occupation. And maybe even more important than that, they're sending their police departments, the Spanish police departments who are across the country, they're sending into Israel to train with the Israeli military, the Israeli Mossad, to learn the tactics of control, to learn the Israeli model of security. Well, that security is basically making a killing, literally making a lot of profit out of wars anywhere in the world. It's terrible enough that Spanish people private companies or government will make a profit out of the wars or the disobedience that Spain is struggling inside of Spain or anywhere else in the world. But specifically, there is Spanish government and the Spanish companies that are making a profit out of the occupation of Palestinians. And that is something that in history will go down as being on the wrong side of history.
In Colombia, they also have been training the paramilitaries
Sure.
killing people and all those things, but nobody talks about that.
Sure.
What will you say about that?
Well, Israel have a rich history of supporting Latin American dictatorships, working with South Africa during the apartheid. Israel actually never had any moral boundaries. Some of what the Spanish government is saying now is, sure, we're working with Israel, Israel is a democracy, and of course Israel is not a democracy, it's holding millions of people under an apartheid regime. But even if you believe what they're saying, Israel is taking Spanish weapons and Israeli weapons, refine them, and then selling them all across the world to dictatorships and to massacres, like in South Sudan or Eritrea at the moment. Israel is helping the murder, the rape, the stealing of land and lives in hundreds and thousands of places. This is something that is going on since the 50s and 60s of the last century and will not stop until people all around the world will join together to resist those cooperations of governments and military and say we do not support apartheid, we do not support killing, and we do not support occupation.
The American politicians have the lobby of Israel behind them, and the Hollywood industry and the banks and the Rockefellers and all those Zionist bankers are the ones who are directing the international policy. Would you mention something about that?
Well, but the truth is that the Zionist lobby is not really about Israel or about the Jews. Most Zionists in the United States right now are evangelicals. The weapon lobbyists in the United States is Zionists because they support the constant war in the Middle East. It's not about Jews, it's not about defending Jews, it's not really about Israel. It's about American military-industrial complex. You know, the US is giving Israel every year $3.8 billion in military aid. But it's in fact not military aid to Israel. They're actually giving them money to buy back contracts from US private weapon companies, weapons that the US taxpayer is paying for, but who's really profiting from it is Lockheed Martin directors, Boeing, Raytheon, companies in the United States. The United States, as a government, as an economy, is making profit out of war and suffering around the world, and that is something that have to stop. The use of the Zionist rhetoric or the Zionist mask, definitely the anti-Semitic claims or the claims that they're just defending Jews are just mask for a huge corporation and profit machinery out of war. So I believe that our governments, our militaries are joining together to oppress us, and I believe that the only way we can stop them if we're joining together to resist them. And this is why I want to call to end of war, not only in Palestine, and not only the end of occupation in Palestine, and for the decolonization of the Israeli mind that is doing the occupation, but end of war everywhere in the world, and spending of military budgets anywhere in the world, taking the money back and investing it in the community for the people, in hospitals, in schools, in roads. There are so much we can do. I call for an end of war worldwide and joining together for resistance.